Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Jorge Valdes. Today I want to follow up on that video that I made on too big of a leap to take. One of the questions that I'm often asked, and again, it's a question that many people that I had at one time and many people that call themselves atheists have, or many people that not even that they might call themselves an atheist, but that they just simply don't believe. Whatever that means. To me, you're either a believer or you're an atheist. And it's fine if that's what you are and you're happy being that way. Well, good for you. I was an atheist for a long, long time. So the question is, why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? And they ask me, how do you respond to that? Well, the first thing that I would respond to an atheist, a non-believer, is that for them to make that question, they must assume that there is a God. Why would you say, why would God allow something to happen if there is no God? If there is no God, you need not ask that question. If there is no God, then things happen to good people and things happen to bad people. That's just how life is. But let us assume that there is a God, and the truth of the matter is that, I have that question as a believer. I have many questions as a believer. And that's what I told this person. I said, I guess that one day when we get to glory, if that's where I end up being, because that's what I believe, one of the things I want to tell Jesus is, listen, break out that good wine that you made at Cana, because, I love wine. And let's talk about it, because I have a lot of questions, throughout my whole life. And, and I pray that somehow I won't need to even ask those questions. Somewhere in the scriptures it says that one day I'm going to be seen as I am seen, or I'm going to see as I am being seen. So based upon that question, and let us assume now you have a person that is a believer. He prays and prays and prays and prays, and God does not answer, or he feels that God does not answer. How do you respond to that person? Because if you're surrounded by so-called Christians and they believe that they have more faith than anyone, that they have this great relationship with God, that nothing's wrong, well, the first thing that I would tell most of them is that they're lying. They're lying to themselves and others, because the truth is that it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not. Trouble comes, and we all struggle. We struggle constantly. The thing is that as people that call themselves Christians feel that they have to pretend better than anybody else. So they go around telling everyone how good they are, how well they're doing, what an intimate relationship they have with God, and how blessed that they are on and on. I'm not saying that some are not. Perhaps they are. And that God talks to them and God tells them this and that. Truth is, I've committed my life to God 31 years ago, as I said before, not because I even believed that he existed, but because I ran out of options. Where else was I going to turn? So why did I keep on this journey that took, right now, as of today, 31 years? As of today, 31 years, I still have not heard from God. He hasn't spoken to me. Maybe he speaks to other people. Now, I feel that because one of the ways that I pray is that I ask God to please close doors that he don't want me to go through, and open doors that he does. I have seen many, many miracles happen in my life. Many miracles. To begin with, is to go from being a multi-millionaire, dating gorgeous women, having everything a man dreams of having, mansion, cars, jets, uncountable amounts of money, and being miserable, and then forfeiting it all to the government, and beginning to find hope and meaning for my life. So, and when I started my company, I prayed and prayed, and we struggled for years and years and years. So it was up to me. So one of the things that I tell people is that, faith is really like air. What do I mean by that? No matter how much I try to grab a hold of oxygen, I just can't. No matter how much I try to grab a hold of air, I can't. No matter how much I might pray to God that I can see air, I never will see air. But I know that it exists, because without it, my lungs would not function. So, that's how I look at faith. But, this morning in my devotional, I was reading something very interesting. It happened to have been in Romans 4, and it was shortly after I had received this letter from this gentleman that had asked me about that. And I said in Romans 4, what struck me the most is in reference to Abraham and Sarah. We only hear about Sarah twice in the Bible. We hear about her in Romans, when God comes up to her and tells her that she's going to have a child and she's 90 plus years old, and the Bible said that her womb was as dead, and Abraham was over 100, and she laughs so hard that she falls on her ass laughing. Then we hear her again in the New Testament towards the end, and Sarah in Hebrews, and Sarah now is the mother of faith. So what happened? What happened between that time when this woman fell on her ass and this woman all of a sudden is the mother of faith? You know, Abraham was a holy man, and Abraham was seeking God with all his heart. And one of the things that especially during the Hebrew time, any man would want is to bear a child, because that child will be their heir. Somehow God came to him and said, "You're going to be the father of many nations." But what happened? Abraham was 100 years old, and he still had not had a child. God promised him that, he would have all this land, and his descendants would spread throughout the whole world. How could he believe that? Sarah was 90 plus years old, barren. He had never had a child. I guarantee you that they tried for many years to have a child. So what happened? One thing that is said is that Abraham never wavered on his faith because of two things. See, Abraham believed that God who had promised was able to deliver. And that is something that has been a very, very strong part of my life. I've always believed that God will deliver me, that God would help me in most times of need. Why? Because he's able to. So lately I mentioned that I have come to pray a lot different than I used to pray, because the truth of the matter is, if we go back and just simply read the Bible, just as a book of morals, a historical book, whatever you want, there's a one time when the apostles asked Jesus how to pray. So Jesus tells them, do not do like the Pharisees or hypocrites in today's world. They go out there and give these big long prayers so that people say, oh my God, what a holy person that person is. I used to do that too. No, he says, go in a closet and pray this way. Our Father who is in heaven. Think about the first word. Our Father. How holy is your name? So our Father's name is holy. He's very holy. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give me this day my daily bread. Forgive my trespasses, as I forgive those who trespass against me. So very, very important elements there is, give me my daily bread. He doesn't say, give me an overabundance of food. He just feed me that day. Because if I'm fed that day, I can go on to the next day. Let your will be done. And that is the biggest problem that most humans have. Do we really want God's will for our life, or do we want God's will to come and be equal to our will for our lives? Very interesting. And it's tough. You got to get to a point like I was so broken, so desperate, that I had nowhere to turn. So if that was the thing, yeah, I let God's will for my life, because I didn't know what my will was. Originally, my will was to become a millionaire, to live this life of luxury and to live this life of abundance, to have so much money and power that people will respect me and women will want me. I lost it all, and I went back to prison in a place I'd never been to in my life, in Mobile, Alabama. And when it really hit me the hardest was, all of a sudden I'm in this prison. I've been on the road for 2.5 days by the U.S. Marshals to bring me from Illinois down to Mobile, Alabama. And being there, I had missed all kinds of meals, so I was hungry. And I went in there, and I never forget those words, Milky Way, Milky Way, Milky Way. Another prisoner was screaming that out. And I asked this other prisoner, hey, what does he mean by that? He says, oh man, we only get that once a month. I said, really? How much is it? He said, $1. I was so hungry I would have given anything. But you know what happened? Instantly I realized, oh my God. An hour ago I was worth $50-60 million. Today, I don't have $1 to buy a Milky Way. And that was very, very sobering for me. I knew that there was nowhere else for me to turn but up, because I had just hit the bottom of the road. I had just dropped. I was nobody. I was stripped naked. I didn't even have the clothes that belonged to me anymore. I was poor when I came from Cuba, but I had a shirt, pair of pants, shoes. Here I had prison outfit, a jumpsuit. and a pair of sandals. And I realized that, you know what, I have come to nothing. And sometimes that's what it takes in life for us to be able to make a leap and make a change. Perhaps it's to believe that there is a God. Because the truth is that if God is our Father, He's going to want for us the best. For me, again, is the fact that I had nowhere to turn. So when I'm asked, why do you keep on believing? Or when I asked, why do you continue to believe when things were just going to hell for me? Think about this. 3 months after I was arrested, 3 months after I gave my life to God, I was arrested. All of a sudden, I'm facing a life sentence. I go from being a multimillionaire to having nothing. My ex-wife disappears with my children for 2+ years. I didn't even know where they were. And that was the daughter that changed my whole life. And all of a sudden, I'm told that my father's got less than a year to live, that he's going to die. Where else was I to turn? There was no way I could go further down. So, I decided to turn towards God and to begin to do what was right. Because, see, so many times we feel like God allows all these bad things to happen, but the truth of the matter, that might not necessarily be the case. Now, can God stop it? Yes. But the truth of the matter is that things happen because we choose to make them happen. Bad people do bad things because they're bad people, or they choose to be bad people. And that's just the way that life is. Because, see, I believe that God gave us this thing called, a will, a free will. And that means that we're able to make decisions our own. If not, God could have made us a robot. And if He made us a robot, then what sense is it to follow God? What's the purpose? Bring this human being into the world, create a perfect creation so that He could do just what I want to do. It's almost like me buying a game of little soldiers when I was a little kid and making the little metal soldiers or rubber soldiers move around and fight the wars that I was wanting them to fight because they had no life. And that's what I feel a person is that has no free will. So we do have a free will. And if we have a free will, then the danger comes in. Because if God gives us a free will, He just cannot intervene. I mean, He can, but He will not be, a just God. He just cannot intervene every time that we do something wrong or something bad happens in the world. Because we humans were given this free will to do something about, to choose to do good instead of evil. But somehow it's just so much easier to do evil than it is to do good. But yet, the amazing thing for me about God is that when I repent, when I turn from my ways, He'll meet me right where I'm at. See, many people think that you have to be holy and you have to be this and you have to be that. I think that's all BS. I think one thing about God is that He met me right where I was, just as I was, as dirty as it could be, like a father would to a child that left his home and was very, very dirty and came home. Father doesn't look at that child and say, oh, you're dirty, go clean up before I hug you. No, a father, and I know many of you all are, just hugs his child and is happy that that child is back home. And that's how I feel that it is with God. I don't understand so many things about God, but I do understand that as a father, He loves me. So when going back to the way that I pray, why do I pray that way? Well, first of all, because the truth of the matter is, if God, in my mind, if God is Father, and I know what it is to be a father, I have 6 children. My children don't need to ask me for things that I know they need because I give it to them. I provide for them. I would even give them my heart. And see, that's how I look at God is. So many times we ask for things that are menial, when in reality, He knows already what we need. He will give us what we need, and He will choose not to give us what He believes we don't need. The problem is that we bring God down to the level of humanity, and we want God to think like us and act like us, and we just don't understand that because God is spirit. So, yeah, what else can we do but to think of God as a man and to, make Him feel that He can make the decisions that we men make, or women, but that's not how it really works. I guess one day we will know. But in the meantime, what I do know is, since that He knows the things that I need, and He's a good Father that will provide them, then simply I would just pray, Our Father. Now, is that all I do in the morning? Say this prayer that might not mean nothing? That as a Catholic I used to say because it was the way we were taught to pray, and it had absolutely no meaning for me? No. I converse with God like I converse with my children. I have this hunger for my children to call me and talk to me. I love talking to my children. And I'll stop whatever I'm doing to talk to my children. Why? Because I love them. And I love to hear them. And I love to hear their challenges and the achievements. I love to hear all about them. I feel that's how God is. He loves to hear from us. So I talk to him all day long. Now, am I crazy? Maybe. Who knows? But what I got to lose? See, let's say I'm a gambler. I am a gambler. I never gambled money because as a young man, I was taken to Vegas by a very, very famous mobster who created a lot of Vegas. And he stood me in front of this amazing hotel and says, "What do you see?" And I said, "Wow, it's just beautiful." He said, "No, George, what do you see?" I said, "A gorgeous hotel." He said, went on and I finally said, "Please tell me what I need to be seeing." He said, "Just see that I did not build this by losing money." I never gambled ever again after that. But I gamble with my life. I gamble with the life of my family and my children. I gamble with my parents' joy and happiness. I gamble with the ability to raise my children the way they need to be raised by a father that was present for many years, for 10 years. So deep down inside, I'm a gambler. Deep down inside, anyone that's committed a crime is a gambler because we've gambled with so much. So if I am a gambler, I'm going to gamble on God. So here's the deal. This is what I used to tell a very dear friend of mine, Muslim. I said, look, let's say that I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, and when I go to heaven, I was right, I won. But if I go to heaven, I'm wrong, really didn't lose anything. Why? Because the truth of the matter is that when I believe that there's God, I try my hardest to act in the best way possible that will be pleasing to my Father who's in heaven. And that doesn't mean that you have to believe in God to be a good person. I know a lot of great people. I have a very, very dear friend of mine who doesn't believe. He's searching. But he's one of the nicest people I've known. But me, that's how I feel. So I tell my brother, the Muslim, I said, look, what if you're right, I'm wrong, I lose nothing. But what if you're wrong and I'm right? Then you've lost a lot. So, as a gambler, I'm just going to choose to believe God. Now, I'm not choosing to believe God because I'm a gambler. I choose to believe in God because, number one, I had nowhere else to turn. Everywhere I turned to find joy and meaning for my life came back empty. And it wasn't until I turned my life to serve God and fall in love with this Jewish carpenter. See, I didn't fall in love with a religion. I didn't fall in love with a certain faith. Call ourselves Christians. Through this, that Jesus failed to realize that Jesus and the original apostles were not Christians like we believe. They were Jews. They were Jews. And they worshiped the Jewish faith. So, I had nowhere else to turn. I turned to God. And for whatever reason, little by little, joy started happening. I started finding meaning for my life. It was a long journey. And a journey of a lot of struggle. I struggle today, 31 years later. And all I do, besides sleep, eat, pray, exercise, is to do things to make this a better world, to bring hope and to bring redemption to people that feel that they've done something so bad, or even they feel like their life has led them to nothing, that there is no hope. But the truth of the matter is that there is always hope. We're not defined by our past. We are defined by the choices we make to change our lives. That's what we define by. So that's what I spend the rest of my life doing. And it gives me tremendous joy. And sometimes I'm tired and I feel like, what the hell keep doing this for? Nobody really cares. But then I get a letter or I get a call or someone comes to my house and says, "I know you. You've changed my life." It just makes it all worthwhile. Because if you change the life of one human being, you've changed the world. So that's what I choose. Now, so many times I wish that God had a Rolex or a Hublot or a fancy watch, because his timing is really never my timing. I just wish that God was a little more, prompt in answering the things, in providing the things that I needed. But the truth is that as I look back in my life, he was never late. He was always right on time. So, for me, as a person of faith, what faith? The faith that I fell in love with a Jewish carpenter whose love was so immense that changed my life. Because lately I've been struggling a lot with both Catholics and evangelicals. You know, it's sad because I don't realize a lot of them, especially leaders, don't realize that their actions is leading a lot of people not to ever want to believe. So therefore, I consider myself just a lover of Jesus. They asked me, are you evangelical? Are you Catholic? I said, I'm not neither. I am a lover of Jesus Christ. Because it was Jesus Christ that changed my heart. It was Jesus Christ that came into my life and filled me with joy and happiness. And it was his love that was so attractive to me. Whereas this other faith now, I have great friends that are Catholic. I have great friends that are evangelical. I got great preachers. I listen every week to Andy Stanley. I think the most gifted preacher out there. I like him. And I have great priests that are very good friends of mine. And others that are not so good. But truth of the matter is that none of that gets us into a right relationship with God. The only thing that gets us into a right relationship with God is our heart being right, repentful, and seeking him with all of our heart. Not prayer, not being Catholic, not being evangelical, not being anything but a person who loves Jesus, who loves God, and above all, loves his neighbor, loves his brothers and sisters. Because see, we are all created by the same creator. So if we're all created by the same creator, we are all brothers and sisters. So when you see your brother or one of your children, 1 out of 5, that goes hungry in America every day, he is your brother, she is your sister. When you see those men incarcerated, abandoned by the world because they made a bad choice, we have made many more than them. We just haven't gotten caught. I was, but so many have not. But he's my brother. She's my sister. And when we look at that men or women on death row, that so many Christian faith have no problem with the death penalty, I do, because he and she is my brother and sisters. We share the same common bond. We were both created by the same amazing God. So therefore, I have a problem with the death sentence. I have a problem with I am pro-life, but I'm pro-all life. I hurt for those immigrants that have to leave their country, looking for freedom and looking for a better opportunity, and many of them escaping prosecution. I know, because my parents left everything in the world to do the same. So I know how they feel. I was there. So many of us just don't. So many of us are, we don't need all these migrants. We don't need all this foreign. Because the truth of the matter is that we're scared of people that don't look and don't talk like us. But those people that don't look and talk like us, they are your brothers. They are your sisters. So how do I best express that I am a person of faith? Because I love my brothers and sisters. And I love God with all my heart, spirit, and soul. Am I perfect? By no means. Do I screw up? Yeah. Do I curse? Sometimes. Do I do things that I'm sure do not please God? I am convinced of that. But one thing I believe that he knows is my heart is right. And when I do, I catch myself. And I try to be better. And try to do things a lot better and to set a better example. Because the problem is, what we don't realize is that when we call ourselves a person of faith, our walk can make the difference between someone spending eternity, heaven or hell. Now, who goes to hell, who goes to heaven, I have no clue. Maybe I have it all wrong. But I think at the end, there's going to be more people in heaven that we thought were not going to be there. And there's going to be a lot of people that people think are going to be there, not there. Just listen to our politicians today. Listen to the hatred. Listen to how they demean other people that are not of their race and color. So whether you are Chinese, Japanese, black, or white, you are my brother and sister. We share the same God. So I pray that every day I'm a good example to others how to love his brother and sister. So therefore, when I pray, now you know how I pray. I just pray the way Jesus told his apostles to pray. I recognize that God is holy, and I pray that his will be done in my life. And I pray that he forgives my sins because I work really hard at forgiving anyone that does me any wrong. So there you go. It is a huge leap of faith to go from being an atheist to a believer. I know that. Just a step at a time. It's a huge leap of faith for a child in a womb to become an Olympic runner. But it's just one day at a time. One more training. One more exercise. One more workout. One more sacrifice. And that is our life, and that is our faith life. So, for my brothers and sisters that are seeking, just keep seeking. Seek. Do like Abraham. Just have patience. If you're going to believe anything, just believe that God is able to do anything. Even if you don't believe, but you might believe there might be a God, you just don't know, then just believe that he's able to do anything. So when he promises, it's because he's able to do it. When I promise my children that I'll give them something or help them out somehow, it's because I'm able to do it. I won't promise something I can't do. And that's how I feel how God is. So, where do we go? How do we start? Where do we go from here? Definitely for me, just taking a leap of faith. And it can be as simple as just asking God to help you. Or asking him to make you understand or help you understand what you're struggling with. Whatever your question is, whatever your challenge is, he can do it. He can take care of it. He can answer it. And if you're seeking God, or if you're seeking answers, or if you have many questions, I can promise you one thing, because I was there, is because you're not happy right where you're at. Because if you were, you won't give a damn. And I know one thing, for me, I came into the world with a huge hole that I felt that the society could fill. Money, power, women, sex, houses, jets, $1 million cars. That hole stayed empty. And it wasn't until I fell in love with George Carpenter that the hole began to be filled. And today it filled to a point that it overflows. It overflows for love, for God, and for you, my brother and sister. So my prayer for you is, if you're seeking, keep on seeking, because he who promised is able. Love you. Have a wonderful day. If you enjoyed this video, I pray that you share it with your friends, that you talk about it. And if you have any questions, email me. I get emails all the time from people. And I try to answer as many as I can. God bless you.